Hello out there, and welcome to Season 5 of Your Next Mission video podcast. You know, it can be difficult for anyone to balance work and family. But what about a military couple? And what if one of them is the first female Command Sergeant Major of the United States Army Special Operations Command, and her husband also holds the rank of Command Sergeant Major? We can all probably learn a little from how they make their marriage work, so stick around. You won't want to miss this one.
Welcome to Your Next Mission video podcast, where we tell the stories of those who have served in the past and those who are serving today. From transition to financial wellness, VA benefits to mental health, we cover issues facing veterans, active military, and their families. Now here's your host, the 12th Sergeant Major of the Army and co-founder of the American Freedom Foundation, Jack L. Tilley.
Thanks for joining us today, and thanks to all of our service members, veterans, and families, and thank you for your service to our great country. Now, before we get started, I personally want to thank our presenting sponsors, Navy Federal Credit Union, whose members are the mission, and Purdue Global, where you can start your comeback, with additional sponsorship from Blue Cross Blue Shield FEP Dental and Blue Cross Blue Shield FEP Vision and USAA. Together, they make Your Next Mission happen. They love our veterans and families, and I'm going to say it every week, we love them too. Speaking of families, today we're going to take a look at a military family from a little different perspective. We often talk about the military spouse and the difficulties they can face and the sacrifices they make. But what if the spouse is also in the military? And they're both senior sergeant majors. And I'm happy to introduce Command Sergeant Major JoAnn Naumann, Command Sergeant Major of the United States Army Special Operations Command, and her husband, CSM Thomas J. Baird, the Command's Senior Enlisted Leader of National Geospatial Intelligence Agency. Whew, I'm glad I got through that. Thank you for filming on the show.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Well, thank you so much. And thanks a lot, before we even get started, thanks a lot for what both of you guys do for our country and for our military. You know, we have a lot to talk about today, but before we do that, I'd like each one of you to tell a little bit about yourself. And Sergeant Major Naumann, we're going to start with you. Why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
All right. Well, I am 28 years into a 4-year enlistment. This was not my plan when I came in the Army. I wanted to learn Arabic and get my clearance and then serve in the Foreign Service. But wound up finding something that I just really loved. And so came in as a 35 Papa, voice linguist, learned Arabic, went to the 101st, spent a couple years there playing War in the Woods prior to 9/11. And then I've spent the last 20 years of my career in Special Operations Unit, dipped out a couple of times to serve at TRADOC and as a battalion CSM, and now serving as the Command Sergeant Major of the U.S. Army Special Operations Command.
Now, you know what I call somebody that's had 28 years in the Army, don't you? A rookie, because I had 36. I got to say that just off. Now, you are the first female sergeant major to ever hold that position. Was that your goal when you came into service, to be the sergeant major of the United States Army Special Operations Command?
Yeah, well, like I said, sergeant major, I mean, initially my goal was just to get through 4 years and then get out.
Mine too.
So, you know, I think this is failure of my plan, but it's absolutely the right place for me to be. And I don't think anybody really sets out to say, like, I didn't think I was going to be a sergeant major, much less, you know, make it to this level. So I don't think you set out with like that end goal necessarily in mind. Just following the path of doing things that I really love to do and having a good time. And this is where I've ended up.
You know, it's really funny you say that, because when I came in the Army, you know what my goal was? My goal was to get through basic training first. And then if I could ever get to specialist, I thought I'd be I'd have it. I had no intention of staying in the Army. So I love every part about the Army. So I'm so glad you guys came on the show. Sergeant Major, I know about you. You've had an extremely successful career as well. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, much like JoAnn, I'm on a failed 4-year program. I was going to come in, was going to do my 4 years, go out and go to college, make something of myself. And here I am 31 years later, at the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, to make it real easy, NGA. I started my career in the 82nd Airborne Division. That really cut my teeth there, and that's where I learned what the value of service is. Then I stepped away from the traditional force for about 16 years of my career, and the last 6 have just skyrocketed from brigade all the way up to where I am today. And I've enjoyed every bit of my time in the Army. And then I got to meet my beautiful wife while we were together. It was actually in the early part of 2000, and it took me a while to kind of whittle down her defenses, and then finally started dating, and eventually got married. So very excited, very happy to finally years ago meet JoAnn, and then finally, like I said, be able to the opportunity to marry her as well.
Now
So
we're going to get a little bit more in detail on that in just a couple of seconds. Hey, now you're both not in the same room. Where are you both located at right now?
So I'm in Virginia right now, and she is.
I'm at Fort Liberty.
Well, I got to ask another question. Who's really in charge now? I mean, I've been married. I've been married a long time, so I know who's in charge. I used to think that I make all the big decisions in the house, and I asked my wife the other day. I said, "Gloria, I make all the big decisions, right?" She said, "Yes, you do make all the big decisions. You probably heard this before." And I said, and she said, "You make all the big decisions." I said, "Well, has any come up lately?" "No, not in 50-some years. None of them's ever come up. I just keep making them for you." Hey, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I mean, it's interesting because, we've been in separate households now since 2019. And so we're both making big decisions. And then I think the struggle is going to be bringing it all back together next year.
Well, that's the next question I was going to ask you. What's the longest you ever lived in one place together? I mean, have you ever lived in one place together?
Yeah, so we lived together when we first got married, and then we lived together actually for quite a while in the Maryland area. However, even though we lived in the same house, we were deployed at TDY quite a bit. There are a lot of times we were in theater high-fiving each other as one was coming in and one was leaving. And then and when we were in North Carolina together in the later part of 2019 or 2016, I actually dropped her off to deploy forward while I PCS out to Fort Cavazos to take a brigade. So that's kind of been our life since we've been dating and since we've been married.
Yeah. We're going to get a little bit deeper into that in a little while too, because I've been deployed a lot, and I've been separated from my family a little bit during my military time, but usually it was for a year at a time, and I'd come back, and there's a lot of things that you have to be aware of when you're separated. So you just trust each other, have confidence. But the big key, I guess, is probably to talk to each other a lot. You talked about it just a minute ago, Sergeant Major Baird. How did you guys, tell the audience again how you met and when did you get married? Either one of you can talk about this, but how did you meet and when did you get married? Go ahead.
So both of them were pretty embarrassing moments for me. I was in my team room.
I love the embarrassing moments. So go ahead.
That's great. Yeah. So it's in my team room, and for back in the very early part of 2000, it was a male only room at that point. We didn't have any females on our team, so I was in the shower. I came out, I was wrapped in a towel, and then they're moving around a little bit. And JoAnn had just graduated, and she and the group of folks, a large group of folks, were going through each one of the team rooms, just saying hi to everybody. This is who we are. And I walk, and there's a whole large group of people there. I'm like, not what I expected coming out of just finished my workout. And then fast forward, when we were going to get married, we got married in Italy. I had this great plan. I had the ring. Get engaged. And then I had this great. I had the ring. I've had it hidden for like 6 months. And then my plan failed miserably. And we're trying to go to it was. I thought it was a good plan. Just executed poorly. Tried to go to a vineyard. Couldn't find the vineyard where we were. Walked through some nettles. So her feet are stinging. My feet are stinging. Had to get back, get everything washed off, and eventually just found an olive grove. A bunch of thorns everywhere on the ground. So, as the Mr. Romantic, I was like, "Hey, JoAnn, just really dorked this whole thing up. Way too many thorns to go on bended knee at this point." And then, so I just pulled the ring out of my pocket, like, "Hey, will you marry me?" And that's how that started from our engagement. Oh yeah. Well, there's a lot more to it, but we'll keep it PG on this one.
I want to hear all the details. I don't want to get normal.
Yeah. See, this is what TJ is failing to tell you all is that we were in Tuscany to do a bike tour of Tuscany. And we get about we were riding about 50 kilometers a day. And we get about halfway through our ride that morning. And PJ's like, I don't think I can ride anymore. My back's bothering me. I don't know. I think we need to cancel the ride today. And I'm like pushing him, like we're at this town that's at the top of a hill. So I'm like, how about we just like ride down the hill and see how your back feels after you kind of loosen it up on the ride. And he's like, no, I really don't think I can ride. And he's just going on. He just really wants to cancel the ride.
What a
so
win.
I finally
So I had the grand plan to go to a vineyard by the
plan
villa.
to take me to a vineyard to propose. But I didn't know that at the time. So I just think he's canceling the ride because he's not, because he's in pain. And so we get back to the villa and he's like, hey, let's go for a walk. And I'm just like, are you kidding me? Like, we came to Italy to ride bike and you're in too much pain to ride a bike. But now you want to go hiking up these hills? Like, you've got to be kidding me. Why did you cancel the ride? Like, no, I'm taking a nap.
And I have this ring in my pocket. And I was going to take the ring out and just throw it at her. Like, you know what? But I kept persisting. Yeah, right. I kept persisting. We finally got out there. They kind of dorked that up. But eventually, like I said, whittled away the defenses a little bit. And I think the Olive Grove was the key right there for her to say yes.
I was pretty fired up, though, about going on this walk.
I was
pretty fired up.
Hey, but was there any anxiety about beginning? I mean, how are you going to make this work? I mean, because let's be honest about one thing. You're both in the military. You're both going to have deployments. You're both going to be separated. And I got to be honest, too. It takes a lot of trust and a lot of communications to make a military family work. I mean, you guys got to work real hard to make this work. Because I got to be honest, again, I've seen a lot of military couples in my life in the military, and they really struggled a lot. But it seemed like you guys are really in a good place, and you're doing pretty. So I guess the question is, how are you making it work?
Well, I mean, I will start by saying the communication has been key from the very get-go. And that's like even before we got married, that was kind of part of the discussion, in our relationship, even while we were dating, because I'd been in the Army for 16 years when we got married. TJ had been in almost 20. And so we were already well into our careers. I mean, you'll notice I didn't change my name because everything is your last name in the military. And I'm like, I have a reputation that I built for 16 years and I don't want to change my name. But it was also that like, hey, what are we going to do career-wise? Because he was already a sergeant major. I was the master sergeant. It's like, if we're going to pursue this and see how far we can go, at some point, we're probably going to have to live apart unless one of us is going to kind of, give up our career or give up our aspirations. And so that was an agreement that we had right from the beginning, was that we were going to support each other's careers.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the best part was, even that was at the very beginning, even through our careers up until now, is how do we stay together, especially when she was in Korea. She's literally a world away. So at 4:30 in the morning, I'm up in the morning, I walk my dog, I text her, see where she is in the evening. We call back and forth. And then either on a Friday or Saturday, we've got our bikes. So we'll get on and do virtual date rides on our bikes because you can do a video camera back and forth for a little bit. And then we do date days. So I would get up at 5 or so in the morning, and at my time here, evening her time, and we would watch a show, and we would just start at the same time, text back and forth, pause when we need to, get our popcorn, do this, do that, and then get back, and then video chat or continue to text. And then throughout my travels now, is every now and then I get to see a picture of JoAnn and with some of the units that we go to visit. And I always ask the team, like, hey, do you mind if I get a picture of me just kind of near JoAnn, pointing out, like, hey, check it out. I got to see you today. And then I'll fire the picture off to her. So that's the big one, is just being each other's cheerleaders, supporting each other again. And then the communication piece is huge. That is the biggest ticket for us, is ensure that we stay in touch with each other, either through text or voice. Well, because sometimes it's only just a quick chat because we're both super busy. It's, hey, hope everything's going well. Good luck. Do this, do that. And away we go. But again, the communication is the biggest piece.
During 9/11, I was in the Pentagon for 9/11, and I used to deploy. And what you're saying is absolutely right. But I used to deploy and be gone for a couple of weeks and our 30 days or 60. Every month I try to at least talk to my wife. But after 9/11, for now this 20 plus years, I call my wife every day, sometimes 3 or 4 times a day, and talk to her. Only because I know that it can be over in a second. She's there and then she's gone. So you got to be honest about what you guys do. It's real world stuff, and you're committed to doing the country's mission. So staying in contact and talking to each other each day, or texting each other, however you do it nowadays, is important for all of us. Sometimes it's a struggle, and you got to make it work. And it's good to, and I think the other thing you was talking about too is the communications and just, saying how you feel. I'm upset as I don't know if I'm certainly sure you never argue or never disagree with anything. I'm sure that never happened. Lord have mercy. But you've got to find balance, and marriage is balance, and that's really well. This is some great advice, and for all of us, and and I really appreciate what all you guys do. But we need to take a quick break. So. Can I say hold that thought, or I'll be right back or something? So don't go anywhere. You guys can follow instructions. I know that. So hold that thought. I'll be right back.
All right.
This is Your Next Mission video podcast with your host, JoAnn Tilley, 12th Sergeant Major. If you're enjoying this discussion, and I know you are, because we're talking about families in the military, dual family members in the military that make a difference, not just for themselves, but really for our country. And it's something that we always need to talk about making a difference to make this country better and better each and every day. Please like us. Click on that subscribe button below, and be sure to click on the bell to receive notifications of all of our upcoming video podcast releases. I'll be right back after word from our presenting sponsors.
You're watching Your Next Mission video podcast, proudly presented by Navy Federal Credit Union, the most trusted credit union owned by members of the military community, serving all branches of the armed forces and their families. Their members are the mission. Learn more at NavyFederal.org. And Purdue Global. You're ready for a comeback, and with Purdue Global, you can do more than take classes. You can take charge of your story, of your career, of your life. Earn a degree you can be proud of and get an education employers respect. Start your comeback at PurdueGlobal.edu. Now back to your host, the 12th Sergeant Major of the Army, Jack L. Tilley.
Welcome back. We're discussing celebrating military families' life with CSM JoAnn Naumann and her husband, CSM TJ Baird. Before we jump back into our discussion, I'd like to take a few seconds to tell you about a new program we're really just excited to call Your Next Mission VCS, a Veterans Community Support Program. We'll provide personalized one-on-one support and address the unique needs within our veteran community through our many partnerships with other veteran service organizations. Please check us out at yournextmission.org/VCS and register to participate today. Remember, and I always want to say this a couple times, remember, we want to help you with whatever issues you and your family are facing. So please, please reach out to us. Before we take the break, we was talking about two home marriages working, and you've really already answered that question. Is there anything else in there that maybe you want to add on to that about, I guess, maybe some more advice to, future military members or dual military couples to make it work just a little bit better?
So we're both, alpha individuals, and you come home, it's you have a frustrating day, and whatever it is at work, we're either on the phone or we're in person, and sometimes you start going through, hey, this is what was going on at work, and then the other person, as a sergeant major, what is our, outside of training, what's the things we like to do? We like to fix things, solve things, whatever, for other people. And so what we have found out is the best thing for us to do is when we're getting ready to start a conversation, we're going to a venting mode or whatever it is. It's like, hey, on the other receiving side, I either need my wife, or if on her side, I need my husband. I don't need the sergeant major right now. I just need my partner in crime, my partner in life, just to sit back, listen, and just let me roll with whatever's going on. And then maybe at the end, it's like, hey, is there a solution? Am I thinking of the right thing here? Whatever that is. We have actually started to do that because JoAnn at one point had thing really very effective for me is when she starts going, hey, this is going on, this is going on. I am already going into the sergeant major mode, and she can see it in my eyes. And she tells me, hey, I don't need you, the sergeant major. I need you as my husband right now. And that is a great and effective tool for both of us when it comes to our communication and how we receive the information that she's given me at that time. Yeah. So that has been a game changer for our relationship.
Yeah. Sergeant Major Naumann, you want to add anything?
Yeah, I mean, I think the most important thing is just to understand, like, it's not perfect for anyone. Like, there are arguments, there are times. TJ is the extrovert, like, he is the definition of extrovert. And when I come home at the end of the day, I need peace and quiet. I people all day, and I need like 15 minutes of peace and quiet. And so, like, there's also the agreement of, like, I can just say, like, hey, go play video games or go do something. Like, don't talk to me right now. Because I'll come home and it's like, you know, it's like coming home to your puppy at the end of the day where, like, he's just so excited to see me. And that's great. Like, it's not that I'm not flattered, but I actually joke and say, you know, because
Good boy.
Well, you know, we've lived apart so much. I mean, even when we were living together, there have always been deployments or TDYs. And so I've told TJ that, you know, when he retires, we'll get him a hunting cabin out in Western North Carolina. And he's like, no, I don't need a cabin. I'm like, no, I need you to have it.
Yeah. But, you know, I got to tell you something, and I know this to be a fact. As a senior sergeant major, whatever command that you're in, you really don't have a lot of people to talk to, you know, that you can talk about those personal things or the things that bother you. And I tell you, it's the same as me when I started in the Army. You know, I guess I had a Macon guy, but you had to be careful about what you say to anybody because, you know, you just got to be very careful. And so I really used my wife as a sounding board. I mean, I'd come home and say, you know, I can't believe what these guys did today. And she'd say, well, I know you used to do that, didn't you? No, I didn't never do that. I mean, so I guess you guys do the same thing. I mean, when something happens in the unit, I would imagine you come home and you talk and it really, quite frankly, it probably makes you a better leader because you can help each other out because you can sort of say, well, I'm doing this, what are you doing? And even though they're two different commands and probably not different people, they're all soldiers, but it's something that you can talk to them about and sort of, you know, flush ideas out. Do you ever, I guess you do that. Do you guys do that?
It's actually really good because we're able to bounce ideas off each other and just say, hey, am I really thinking, am I going down the right path for a potential decision or a recommendation? And so as another critical thinker, I get to reach out to JoAnn quite a bit and say, hey, here's what I think based on situation X, Y, Z. I'd like to get your feedback. And so that has been super awesome for both. And then the nice thing is we're able to talk at work. So I can dial her up if I need to. That gives us a little bit of extra opportunities for both our options for both of us to chat back and forth, try to help solve problems with each other.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a huge advantage for dual military, you know, is to use that, especially because sometimes when you're in the middle of a situation, you're emotionally involved. And it can be very hard to like take that step back. And so having the other person who is not emotionally involved, who can take that step back and maybe give you kind of a more clean opinion of what's going on without all the emotional involvement is very helpful.
Yeah. And it's really tough when you're bothered about something, or not angry, I guess you could get angry, but you're angry about something and it's just not working right. And people aren't listening to you where you think they're making the wrong direction or wrong turn.
Oh, but TJ never gets frustrated about that.
Oh, no, I can tell he's a type A. No. So everything's good. So we're moving along here pretty good. So tell me a positive and a negative. We'll start Sergeant Major Naumann, we'll start with you. Sergeant Major Naumann, we'll start with you. But tell me a positive and a negative about military marriage. What's a positive? What's a negative?
So I would go back to the positive is, you know, for us, we do know what each other does and we understand and we get it, right? It's not that like when one of us calls and like, I'm going to be late tonight or I'm not coming home tonight. There's not a need to explain it. And that I think is super helpful. And we are able to support each other. I think the downside of it is sometimes you can forget to get away from work. Like sometimes we have to remind each other when we are talking a couple of times a day that we have lives outside of work, and we need to talk about those things, and not just like this was my day at work, but also have outside things and activities that we enjoy doing together.
Yeah. So, Major Baird, I have the same question, plus or minus.
Yeah, I think plus for me is just knowing JoAnn understands where I'm coming from. She had really kind of hit on that piece of it. Is it's very easy to talk just in life in general, and especially on the work side of the house. And then on the negative side of the house, it's just the time spent apart, because I am getting ready to retire. So my big worry right now is how do we bring the households together? Because we have two separate households, two separate routines. So how do we bring those together? So that's really going to be the negative for us right now, is we're really trying to start our plan is how we're going to reconsolidate all this stuff that we have.
Yeah. Hey, I'm going to go a little bit farther here in a minute. You're both in command positions, right? But you just can't issue orders to your spouse. Do you ever try? You try to do that? I'm just, to come home, I'm still pumped up, and hey, you're going to do this, or I mean.
I don't think we've done that. I think maybe while we were at work, each other's respective work and visiting, it's just there. You see a military uniform right next to you, and you forget, like, oh my God, I just said something to my wife that I would like, hey, I need you to do this. And I realized, I'm gonna hear about this one later when we get to the house. and she's like, okay, I'll do it. And I get this look, I'm like, whoa, that's not going to be good.
In trouble later.
So I have done that. I learned my lesson the first time.
There you go.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
I don't think it's so much orders issued at home. I will say, like, so I am the particular one about certain things in the house.
Right.
And so things like putting the toilet seat down.
I was thinking about the same thing. Put it down. No, I got you. I understand.
The direction the toilet, especially when in the middle of the night. It's a real thing. The direction the toilet paper goes is another one that I'm particular about. That he's like, I don't care, and I'm like, no, there's a right answer.
I've got to tell you a funny story. When I was in, me and Gloria went to Hawaii, and there was this room we were staying in, sort of a circle room. I don't know, but there was a bathroom and a closet, and in the middle of the night, we all got to go to the bathroom usually, and so Gloria was going to the bathroom, and she was half asleep, but she went in the closet, and so she's backing up. She starts to sit on a suitcase to go to the bathroom. So putting that toilet seat down.
It's a real thing when you're half awake. When you're half awake and the toilet seat's up, it can be a bad thing.
I think that's what happened was last week. Yeah, last week we were actually TDY together, and she in the morning she's like, "Hey, next time you leave that seat up, go find another room." I'm like, oh, shit.
Yeah, listen, well, happy wife, happy life. That's what I always say. That's what a lot of people say too. Hey, somebody, when you talked a while back, you had some advice that seemed really good. You touched on it just a minute ago about being a cheerleader. Can you go into more detail about that?
Yeah, because we are apart quite a bit, and I am JoAnn's biggest fan. So everywhere I go, because everybody asks, like, hey, how are you? What do you do? You ask about your kind of a very executive summary bio when you're talking to a bunch of folks. But I also talk about JoAnn because one, just the impressive amount of things that she does every day, and especially all the trailblazing she does. And then I have to be her cheerleader. I mean, I'm married to her. I'm not saying I'm obligated at all, but that's what I like to do. I like to talk about her and say, hey, look, here's who I married. I married up. So I made the great choice in this. In our partnership here in our marriage, I made the best choice in the world, marrying JoAnn. She, on the other hand, we've talked about this, and she'll say it too. Questionable on the decision-making tree right there. As I married up, she went down to the junkyard and said, you know what, maybe I'll take that crusty Sergeant Major over there and see if we can't put a little bit of shine on him. So 12 years later, she's still working on kind of knocking the rust off and everything. But when it comes down to it is, everywhere I go, they're like, hey, I hear about JoAnn, and here's the best part. Some people don't even know that we're married because we have different last names.
Yeah.
And so one of these days I'm just waiting, right, ready really for someone to say something. That's what I'm waiting for. But so far, it's all been on the up and up. And everyone's like, oh, yeah. Did you? And they look at me like, hey, do you know JoAnn Naumann? I'm like, yeah. oddly enough, I'm married to her. And they stop and they pause like, oh yeah, I'm that guy. I am married to JoAnn. And then I'm like, oh my God, we didn't realize you don't have the same last name. I said, yes, we made that. Obviously, she made that decision a long time ago, and which was great because obviously everything she built behind the name. And so as I'm going out with everybody or just wherever I go, it's always about, hey, not only is it about me, I have my family that's taking me through my last part of my career. And then when I retire, that's all I'm going to have. The military is going to go. I'll have my friends from the time in the military. But at the end of the day, when I go forward in my next chapter of my life, it's going to be with JoAnn and my family and our daughter. And I've got to ensure that foundation is solid. Because if that foundation is not solid when I retire, then it's just going to be me. And I don't want that to happen. I want to be with my wife, my family, and my daughter and everything when I come out of the military and into my new life, into my new next chapter of my life.
Yeah. Well, JoAnn,
I do think I did okay.
Well, okay, you did fine.
We joke about it. No, but I mean, no, obviously I'm super proud of everything that TJ's done.
Well,
Definitely, it's good. It's actually, because people don't necessarily know both of us, when they meet one of us, it's actually kind of fun when I get to introduce TJ to someone and they're like, oh, you're the mysterious husband. We've heard so much about you, but started questioning whether or not you really exist.
Well, the thing about, I know you just briefly by shaking hands, say, hey, how you doing? But the thing about you both have a positive attitude. And you both laugh, have fun, enjoy life and stuff. So for me, that's the biggest part. Too many people that I run into sometimes are, life is bad, I can't do it. And I'm always smiling. I'm still here, so I'm smiling. So I love that anyway. So you guys are a great couple and great role models for our Army. You guys should be out there talking a lot more about telling people what a great life it is to be in the military. Because I would tell you, anybody can, you hear this stuff all the time about the military and the stuff that's going on, and I don't listen to none of that stuff because I know the real deal. Do we have problems? Certainly we do, but everybody has problems. But it's a great life, and it allowed me to live a better life when I retired out of the military. Sergeant Baird, I'll only give you a little bit of advice, both of you guys some advice. Make sure you plan that retirement because there's a lot of people that struggle when they get out of the service. They're just about finding their tribe and fitting in and doing all this stuff. But the good thing about that, you're together. You both walked in the same kind of boots, and you can really help each other out a great deal. This is a great discussion, and I want to talk a little about the future before we go. But first, like anything else, we need to take another break. So I'm in charge now. Well, maybe not, but stay right there. I'll be right back. Now, here's a word from two more of the organizations that make this show possible.
You're watching Your Next Mission video podcast, brought to you in part by Blue Cross Blue Shield FEP Dental, Blue Cross Blue Shield FEP Vision.
Part of transitioning out is that dental and vision insurance breaks off from your medical insurance.
Vision and dental is very important to be able to enjoy your retirement.
Blue Cross Blue Shield makes the transition so much easier.
And USAA.
A promise is a trust not to be broken, whether spoken with an oath or sealed with a pinky. And after 100 years, we're still taking care of the military community and their families. That's our mission, always.
Now back to your host, the 12th Sergeant Major of the Army, Jack L. Tilley.
Welcome back. We're blessed to be here today and talking about military family life with CSM JoAnn Naumann and her husband, CSM TJ Baird. Remember, this is your show. We know there's so many issues that directly affect you, and we want to address each and every one of them. So please, I'm going to say this, so please, as I've said before, reach out to me. Tell me what topics you'd like to cover on the show, because it's not my show, it's your show. You can call or text me at 844-424-113 or send me an email at SMA Tilley at yournextmission.org. And guess what? I'll reach back out to you. Sergeant Major Baird, you've both been in the military as long as you've known each other, but you'll soon be retiring in 15 months. What's
Yes.
that going to be like for you when you for both of you when you get out?
It's gonna be pretty fun. So I'm gonna very focused on the family readiness group. That'll be something very different for me, and from the spouse side of the house. And as I was talking to actually another dual military couple, I'll actually be the voice for husbands on the spouse side of the house, because we see a lot that's on for the ladies out there, but very few for the husbands. So I'm looking forward to that. And I did bring this here because JoAnn did buy this for me. I'm in training.
I love it. Love it.
So I did get to wear that a couple times last week. So in fact, we wore it I wore it at a concert. So that was a big hit with sitting next to JoAnn. They're like, oh my God, he is in training. You did bring him. So I'm looking forward to it. So the next year, one of the things we're doing right now is when she comes up is what's going, what's staying. I've got a couple things that I know that are not going to go. Some things I'm going to fight for to stay, that I get to keep. Down at our next house, and then eventually we will sunset out of our both of us out of the military. When she retires, we'll hit our forever home in the southern part or the central part of North Carolina. So we're definitely looking forward to that.
There you go. Do you have a home up there already, or you'd be looking for?
We do.
You do.
Yeah.
Do. Now, have you bought homes in each location you're at, or are you just supposed to rent apartments or something?
Yes, we have purchased homes. We've rented homes. We've sold some homes. I lived in a couple of apartments, and for my last 2 duty stations, because it's much easier, I've actually been living on post because our moves have been very short. So it's just easier to grab a place on post and then move in very quickly, especially when I had my daughter with me and that was pretty tough as a single father. Well, not a Geo-Batch single father, having my daughter with me and then traveling and everything else, make sure she's set, ready to go as she graduated college, is now in her first year. And just finished her first year of college.
Oh,
so it's good.
Congratulations. Sergeant Major, I guess just what Sergeant Major Ray just said, you expect to stay in your current position for at least, I guess, 2 more years. Is that correct? And then, but what after that? What are you going to do after that? Do you have any goals to do anything after that?
So I mean, my goal has been to retire for the last 8 years. And so I've just stopped making that my goal, because it seems like every time I think I'm going to retire out of the job, the Army has another plan. So I do have 2 more years in this job. I promised General Braga 3 years. And so just finished year 1 a couple weeks ago. So I'll stay here for 2 more years. And then honestly, I'll see what the Army has. I don't have a specific plan. I am ready to retire if that is what's next, but I'm definitely interested in continuing to serve if the Army has a place for me.
You know, I started when I was a division sergeant major. I was going to get out of the service, and then and somebody called me and say, "Look, here's another job." So, okay, well, I'll go do that. And then I was going to get out of the service again, and somebody called me. In fact, that said, "Hey, I was in space and missile defense. I don't know anything about missile defense." So I went there for about 6 months, and then CENTCOM was coming open, and Sergeant Major Army called me and said, "Hey, would you consider going down to CENTCOM?" And I said, "Oh yeah, sure, okay. Well, if you want to put me in there," because I felt good about just nominating me for that, and they actually picked me for the job. And so I went down there in Tampa down there, and I thought, well, I'll retire out of there. I'll get a job with USA. I'm set. I'm ready to go. And then Sergeant Major of the Army Bob Hall called me. He says, "I see that you put your name on this list for the Sergeant Major of the Army." And I said, "Well, first of all, I'm a senior guy. I've been in the Army over 30 years now. It's probably time for me to go. Let some of these younger guys do it. I don't have no problem with that." He said, "Would you put your name on the list? I'd like for you to do that." I said, "Well, Sergeant Major, if you're asking me, I'll do it, because the Army's did a lot for me, and I want to pay it back. If I, just put another name on the list, if that makes you feel good, I'll certainly do it." And then he said, "Okay, that's good. I'm glad you're going to do it." Then he said, "Well, don't worry." I said, "What do you mean, don't worry?" He said, "Don't worry. They'll never hire you any damn way. So don't worry about it." But so I
Just
guess
on you.
well, yeah, the thing about it is I really do. I believe in fate. I believe that whatever's going to happen is going to happen. All you can do is just keep working as hard as you can, make things happen. I think people is the key to success in any position that you're ever in. If you take care of people, you just can't talk about taking care of them. You got to make sure you take care of people. And if they trust you, have confidence, all the things we've talked about already. That's the way I've always lived my life. And again, I'm like Sergeant Major Baird. I guess I'm a type A. I'm a positive person. I'm always, like both of you are, I'm a positive person. I don't let things get me down. And I have a tendency of ignoring things too. I don't like stuff for people talking about. I just say, I don't want to listen to it. I'll just keep moving. I don't worry about it. Earlier in the show, we talked about the fact that you're the first female command sergeant major at enlisted leader and senior enlisted leader of Special Operations Command. And I'm sure people have asked you, how do they follow in your footsteps? And what do you tell? I mean, I'm sure you got some great advice. What do you tell them, though?
Yeah, I mean, there's not a path. If there was a path, I probably wouldn't be here because I very much just followed my own path. And so, what I tell people is just be good at the job you're in. Like you're not going to get the next job unless you prove you're good at the job that you're doing right now. And I think too many people get focused on what's next and the future, and they get caught up on how to get ahead instead of just really focusing on being really good at the job you're in and the things that you just talked about, right? Taking care of soldiers and making sure the mission is happening and all of those things. And if you're doing that well, people are always going to be interested in hiring you.
Yeah. So maybe same question. What advice would you give to a young soldier coming in for a future? How are you going to move forward and stuff in the military? Any advice for a young person coming into service?
Yeah, as I tell people, it's not about you, the individual, although you need to self-develop and everything. And I get that. At the end of the day, it's about how do we make the team and everybody around us better. That's how if you really want to separate yourself when it comes to a leadership, it's about the team, making everybody better. And then when it comes to trailblazing, I talk quite a bit with our non-war fighters. I had the opportunity to compete last year for the Sergeant Major of the Army as an MI professional. And I got and it was a surprise for me when I got an email saying, hey, you're eligible to compete. I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't think I'd ever have that opportunity as but as a non-war fighter. So I competed, obviously, Sergeant Major of the Army, Mike Weimer got the position, but they just have the opportunity to compete. So I actually talk a lot about with our younger soldiers across the entire Army. Say, hey, you never know. Like when I joined the Army, obviously that was never even in my thought process. Even coming up here to NGA wasn't really in my thought process as a non-war fighter. But when I got the opportunity to compete, as I tell people, when you get the opportunity, take it. Take the opportunity and swing for the fences. And if you can connect, you can get across and get a home run, fantastic. If you're just hitting singles and everything else, even if you strike out, it's a great learning opportunity. Learn from it and continue on. And so that is what I tell a lot of our younger service members and a lot of our civilians as well, because I have a civilian heavy organization. And I speak with them quite a bit on, hey, I'm feeling stuck doing this. And I want to do something different. I said, well, find a different opportunity and figure it out. And don't be shy and don't be afraid of trying the unknown. And that's where I think JoAnn and I have really, I think we're really connected in the fact that we love challenging ourselves. We love challenging each other and whatever it is. Not from debates or arguing with us, but just like challenge and push ourselves into what our hobbies are. Maybe, if we have for some reason took a step back, this is a gentle reminder like, hey, you've got this. Just get back on the bike, get back on the saddle, whatever it is, and just keep going. And so that message resonates with me, and I hope it resonates with others as I talk more and more with our younger service members. I say younger. I've been in the Army 31 years, so younger is relative. And then and with our and right now again with our heavy civilian population as well. So take the opportunities when you can, and don't be afraid to do it.
Yeah, I used to tell people there's a lot of people as good as I am, but there's nobody better. So that's the way to look at me because I've talked to people, and you probably have too, that sort of want to talk down to you versus look in the eye. And I think to myself, you're no better than me. The only difference is you have a different job. And there's nothing in this world that I can't do. I can do anything I want to do. If I want to do it, I can do it. I can make it happen. The only thing that ever stops people is theirself. Never stops anybody is theirself. So, push forward, do what you want. This has been a great discussion. I tell you what, you're a great family military couple, and I appreciate what you guys are doing. And again, Sergeant Major, no fault to you at all, but I know who's in charge, and I understand because like I said, I've been there a long time. Any final thoughts? Anything you want to share with the audience that maybe we haven't talked about? We'll start with you, Sergeant Major. We'll start with you. Anything you want to share with the audience that any lessons or anything that maybe we haven't talked about that you want to share with them?
The biggest thing I would just say for anybody listening, whether they're pursuing a career in the military or whether they decide to pursue something else, is do something you love to do every day. I keep doing this because I get to come to work, and I'll stop when I have to come to work. But right now, I still get to come to work. I love what I do every day, and I would just encourage everyone to find that something in life that you feel that passionate about.
There you go. Yeah, Sergeant Major Baird, how about yourself? Baird, how about yourself? Anything you want to leave the audience with?
Yeah, I'll focus on my number one life and leader principle. Smile and the world smiles with you. Be positive. Oh, yeah. Every one of my photos, you'll see me in a
I look at it, smile. I mean, you can't help. It's infectious.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
And just enjoy life, have fun, be the person people want to be around, be the leader that inspires others to come to work, not to a learning environment, and not be afraid to fail and fail forward when you're trying to do something or you're daring yourselves greatly to do the next thing as we go to change, whatever we got to change to make sure everything else is better for the future. And just smile when you do it. And even when the life is getting you down, just turn your smile up, make yourself feel better, make everybody else feel better, and charge forward. That's why I like to tell people, yeah, thanks.
Well, again, it's just absolutely great you guys coming on the show. I got one more. I got a request for you guys.
Okay.
It's not going to be difficult. I always loved HUA. So HUA means I'm motivated, pumped up. So I'm gonna do a little test here real quick. I'm gonna go 1, 2, 3, and both of you have to say HUA. We're gonna let the people that are listening sort of judge who's got the most motivation.
Oh,
so,
no.
All right. So I don't know. All right, now get ready, get pumped up. All right, you ready? All right.
Ready.
Yes.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. All right, and this has been a great discussion, and thank you for your, both your service to our country. These are tough times, but I can tell just by talking to you guys, you're great leaders. You care so much, and you're doing a great job, not just for yourselves, of course, you as a married couple, but really for our country and our service members. So God bless each and every one of you.
Thanks, Sergeant Major.
Thank you. Thanks again to Sergeant Major JoAnn Naumann and CSM TJ Baird for joining me today. I'm Jack Tilley, 12th Sergeant Major of the Army, and you've been enjoying Your Next Mission video podcast, and thank you for joining us. Log on to our website at yournextmission.org and leave me a review. This is going to be a good show. I'll get a good review, but if it's a bad one, again, I guess I can take it. While you're there, you can visit our nonprofit and corporate partners who have jobs and services available that can assist you in your transition from the military. And check out our job board in partnership with Recruit Military, where you can search for a job that's just right for you. You can find a short video that will help you fine-tune your search, where you can also create your own personal profile. You can follow me on my personal social media pages, Facebook, X, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Rumble. And if you like what we're doing with yournextmission.org, please click on that subscribe button below. Don't forget to click on the bell to receive notifications about our upcoming video podcasts. Don't forget, we want to hear from you. Please leave me a message or send me a text at 844-424-1134 or send me an email at SMA Tilley at yournextmission.org. Thanks again to Sergeant Major Naumann and CSM Baird for joining us today. I guess I'm screwing everything up at the end of the show because I am so pumped up. I am so motivated to talk to a family couple that has dedicated their lives to serving our country. We look at the military and look at the kind of things they do. What they do is they raise their hand and say, I will protect and defend the Constitution of the United States. And you all know, I've said it before, they're willing to die for your freedoms. They're out there each and every day doing the things that nobody ever talks about. And also, married couples doing those things to protect us. You see, it is about us. It's about our country. It's about our military. And of course, it's about God. So always support your military. Always support everything they do. And remember, they're protecting you and me each and every day. Thank you for watching, and thanks to New Mind Studios and, of course, our sponsors, Navy Federal Credit Union, Purdue Global, Blue Cross Blue Shield, FEP Dental, and Blue Cross Blue Shield, FEP Vision, and USAA. We appreciate all you do for our military. And as always, see you on the high ground. Hooah!
You've been listening to Your Next Mission, brought to you by the American Freedom Foundation. Learn more by visiting yournextmission.org.